I'm your host, and here on Gurvion, we explore the stories, mysteries, and hidden truths that most people never stop to question. And one more thing, I want to be completely transparent with you. Some of the visuals in this video are created with the help of AI, but the research, storytelling, editing, and voiceover are my own work.
Look at the natural state of the South China Sea. For most of human history, this massive stretch of ocean was empty, peppered only with tiny, uninhabited rocks and dangerous sunken reefs. Today, those empty reefs have been paved over. They are now multi-billion-dollar artificial islands, heavily outfitted with military runways, radar stations, and deep-water ports. The water surrounding these outposts is some of the most contested territory on the planet, with 7 different countries claiming overlapping slices of the sea. Looking at a map of the region, most of these nations claim the small borders immediately off their coastlines, but China's claim swallows almost the entire sea, pushing right up against the beaches of its neighbors. Nations are dredging up sand to build military fortresses in the middle of the ocean to defend a territorial claim that completely ignores modern geography. The boundary of China's claim is defined by these 9 dashes, forming a U-shaped perimeter outlining the sea. The geography here is extreme. This line drops thousands of miles south of the Chinese mainland, practically touching Malaysia and the Philippines. To understand why Beijing maintains such an uncompromising stance over this water, you have to look past the offshore oil reserves and modern maritime laws. The actual answer traces back to a single map drawn by a weakened government in 1946 and the ancient narrative they used to justify it. To see how China historically engaged with this water, look at this 1600s-style merchant map. As a powerful seafaring civilization, Chinese merchants mapped this area in detail to navigate trade routes extending down through Southeast Asia. Archaeologists have unearthed centuries-old Chinese pottery and coins here, proving that sailors used these atolls to fish and wait out bad weather. Despite this long history of contact, the Chinese Empire never formally claimed ownership of the rocks. At the time, they held absolutely zero economic or strategic value. That changes in the 1930s. The French Navy arrived to colonize Indochina, modern-day Vietnam, and began aggressively claiming the nearby islands. The French, along with a rapidly expanding Japanese empire, realized these remote atolls sat at a critical global crossroads. They were perfect natural formations for seaplane harbors, submarine docks, and refueling stations. During World War II, the South China Sea essentially became a Japanese lake. So when the US and its allies finally defeated Japan, they forced them to surrender all this territory, leaving a massive power vacuum in the water. The arrival of foreign colonial navies took a passive route for merchant ships and permanently turned it into a highly coveted military chessboard. By 1946, the nationalist government of China was terrified of another foreign power taking over. So they deployed naval ships, largely supplied by the United States, out to the largest reefs to physically plant Chinese flags in the sand. To secure their borders on paper, they hired a group of geography professors. These academics looked at old atlases and drew a bold line made of 11 dashes around the entire sea, officially declaring it Chinese territory. Almost immediately after releasing this map, the nationalist government lost the Chinese Civil War. Communist revolutionaries led by Mao Zedong took control of the mainland, forcing the nationalists to flee to the island of Taiwan. You now had 2 bitter enemies, both claiming to be the legitimate government of China. Yet both governments adopted the exact same U-shaped map to assert their global legitimacy. The mainland communist government updated their version, as the VO says, removing 2 dashes as a concession to North Vietnam, giving us the 9-dash line we see today. Over the next few decades, the stakes skyrocketed. Geologists discovered offshore oil, and the UN passed maritime laws that rewarded massive economic zones to whoever owned islands, kicking off a frantic physical scramble for every rock in the sea. As the global economy modernized around them, a map hastily drawn by academics in 1946 became the absolute baseline for 2 competing Chinese governments. In 2016, an international tribunal directly addressed this baseline. Following a lawsuit by the Philippines, the court conclusively ruled that China's 9-dash line is entirely illegal and holds no weight under modern maritime law. The Chinese government completely ignored the ruling. In their official rebuttal, they argued that their continuous 2,000-year history of discovering and exploring the sea supersedes any modern treaty. Modern Chinese leadership has integrated the Nine-Dash Line directly into the country's national identity. President Xi Jinping frames the defense of this map as the great rejuvenation of the Chinese civilization. It is a patriotic promise to Chinese citizens that they will never again suffer territorial humiliation by foreign powers. It's taught to school children and printed as an official watermark in modern Chinese passports. Because this historical identity is entirely inflexible, standard legal compromise is impossible. As a result, the physical reality on the water is escalating, with Chinese Coast Guard ships aggressively ramming and blasting neighboring vessels with water cannons to enforce their boundaries. Beijing treats the sea as an ancient national dignity to be restored, valuing this historical narrative above any economic or diplomatic negotiation. Because of that, they will never surrender the South China Sea.
So tell me in the comments what you want to see next. AI, psychology, hidden history, or mysterious stories. You choose the topic, I'll uncover the story. Welcome to Gurvion.